Ari, it is what it is. Inside Carolina has reported that Bill Belichick has interviewed for the North Carolina job. And my mind is just swimming. Not because I think Bill Belichick's going to take the North Carolina job, but I'm just giddy at the thought of Bill Belichick in college wearing a Jordan Brand hoodie, talking to a recruit's uncle, trainer, handler about what North Carolina can do for them.
A little inside baseball here, guys. I was at the mall holiday shopping for my family when Andy, texted me about this, and I had about a 25-minute drive home because I was at a mall that was pretty far away. And I got 25 minutes to prepare for this video in my head. Like, I was going through it. And I didn't know if we were going to have is the Belichick or Brady more responsible for the dynasty discussion today, but I want to have the discussion about this. And then at the end of the video, maybe we can actually discuss the reality of like why he would want to do this, if at all.
I don't know. Well, let's get this out here.
Okay.
I think this is my theory that Bubba Cunningham at North Carolina is having some fun with all of us. He's, called Arthur Smith, former North Carolina player, current Steelers offensive coordinator, who's getting a little criticism. Called Arthur Smith about the job. We reported that they'd reached out to Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith scores, his offense scores 44 points the next game, and they're not so mad at Arthur Smith anymore. Bill Belichick, that's a hell of a name. But they fired Mac Brown on a Tuesday morning last week. Bill Belichick, they could have hired by Tuesday afternoon. I think I feel like they're kind of stringing us out because there's the person they're going to hire is coaching a game this weekend.
Well, let's come up with some funny names before I get to what I was thinking about in the car to interview next. How about Lou Holtz?
Oh, that would be awesome. Ryan Day would be so mad, though. So mad.
I mean, I think it is kind of amusing, and I don't know where Mac Brown is in comparison to age with Bill Belichick, but they can't be that
about
far
the
off,
same
right?
age. They're like a year apart.
And like everybody was losing their mind about his age, and then they go interview somebody for a job that's roughly the same age, and I thought that's funny. Okay, but hear me out on this because I want to actually.
I'm ready.
I want to take this to a semi-interesting discussion here.
We're on to Wake Forest, Ari. We're on to Wake Forest.
I don't want. We could do the whole video like this if you want, but I don't know if you want to like actually have a conversation with some personality. Who do you think is more responsible? Just because we watch ball, we watch the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
We don't cover the NFL, but we watch it. Who do you think is more responsible for the Patriots dynasty? If you had had to guess,
I think the last few years have told us that probably Tom Brady, is more responsible.
I think that we got some context about the last few years, and also to having the greatest quarterback of all time at any level probably helps you with success, right? But let me ask you this as a follow-up, and bear with me here. What do you think was more impressive, Nick Saban's dynasty at Alabama or Bill Belichick's at the NFL level with the Patriots?
Bill Belichick's.
Okay.
Or the Patriots dynasty in general.
Right. Because
Nick
in
Saban's
the NFL,
very impressive, and the fact that they kept changing rules and Nick Saban kept adjusting to them and still winning was really impressive. But the NFL is set up to not have the same team win that much.
Yeah. The parity in the NFL and the roster and the salary cap and the draft, all that stuff puts everybody on an even playing field in the NFL, which makes all the teams, like the worst team in the NFL can beat the best team in the NFL, and it does not feel like it does when it happens in college.
And the only time NFL teams are truly bad over and over again is when they have bad owners.
Yeah, bad owners and bad quarterbacks, but those two things usually string together. So the reason why I bring this stuff up is because if you actually think from a coaching standpoint that the Patriots dynasty, I don't care if you have the greatest quarterback in the world. Funny enough, they had 0 receivers during that time. Now they had some interesting.
Randy Moss the 1 year, but they didn't win the Super Bowl.
That was the 1 year they didn't win the Super Bowl. So, but for the most part, they weren't like dripping with a talented advantage on offense.
No, it wasn't like Julian Edelman was the 5th pick in the draft.
And it wasn't like it was the greatest show on turf. So the reason why I bring this up is because if you do give credit, and I think Bill Belichick deserves credit, even though he had Tom Brady, for a coach that was able to consistently win when the playing field was even. And then you put him into a situation where he can control roster moves, because recruiting in college now is not the same thing as recruiting 5 years ago. Like, you
Right.
can sit behind a desk and, put people in charge of your finances, and you can decide how you want to allocate your money. Like,
Well,
the discussion that we had.
let me ask you this: the current college football, is Bill Belichick, who in the NFL had complete personnel control, unlike most coaches in the NFL. Is Bill Belichick actually the person best equipped for the current era of college football, which is used to having the coach having 100% personnel control? So I imagine they mostly still will. But now you've got to deal with essentially a budget and players who, may walk if they want too much money. Like, he actually feels uniquely qualified for this era.
And actually was in a position in the NFL that isn't very common, which is having that privilege. So, like, to me, North Carolina is probably going to excel regardless of who they hire. I don't think it's going to be Bill Belichick. Would be most likely to excel, though, if they had a coach that helped them win games where things were even. Right? That's
Correct.
what. And they had a coach who could make personnel and financial decisions that were better and smarter than what other teams are doing, right?
Correct.
So if you actually think Bill Belichick,
in the revenue share era, that is going to be how you win on the margins.
so if you take away Bill Belichick's name, likeness, and just general personality and age, like, that would be a really good fit to me. So, like, as funny as this is to discuss, especially considering who he would be replacing if it ever came to it, I think that the idea makes sense. Is that crazy? Like, I actually think the idea makes sense.
It does, because you and I are on the same wavelength here. Like, for this era of college football, you need someone who is unsentimental, who understands how to handle personnel within a budget. Because even if there's no salary cap, there's a budget.
Right. And a budget and a salary cap are the same thing to me.
Exactly. And there will be players who come to the coaches now who have a great year, who are now more expensive, and you have to decide, can I afford to keep this guy? Which is what Bill Belichick had to do every single year of the Patriots dynasty.
And, like, it's funny we're having this conversation, but I think I have a sneaky suspicion we're going to be having this conversation quite a bit in 3 weeks. Depending on what goes on with Ohio State, the Mike Vrabel mania is going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to be him. I don't know if he wants to do the job, but what I do know is that if your number one reservation for Mike Vrabel is he doesn't want to recruit, buddy, I'm telling you, recruiting is not the same now as it was. And I was actually listening to.
I think the Mike Vrabel thing is that he's probably going to get an NFL job. And if he wants to coach in the NFL, he's going to take an NFL job.
And timing will be interesting. And, depending on how long Ohio State's season goes, it could go into the playoffs if they perform well. And then if they do that, then you might not want to change your coach anyway. But if they lose their first round game, like, I think that there is going to, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying we are going to be talking about it, because it's going
I
to
don't
be
think they're going to fire Ryan Day, but if they lost their first round game, the idea of Ryan Day finding another job to just extricate himself from the situation would not seem that far-fetched.
Well, I was listening to Bill Anderson, Doug, because that's who you listen to in Ohio State.
The Kings of the North.
Like that. Yeah. The Kings of the North, the Kings of Columbus. And they had a really interesting discussion, and I'd encourage people to go listen to it, but I'm going to steal it too a little bit, about, do you fire Ryan Day regardless of who's available, or do you fire Ryan Day or move on from Ryan Day when Mike Vrabel's available and if he wants to do it? And I think that those are two very different situations. And, like, they are the complete opposite in every way. One's from Ohio, one's not. One's a hard ass, one isn't. One's a defensive coach, one's an offensive coach. Like, if you need somebody to come be the Jim Harbaugh for Ohio State, which is the prodigal son returning home to save the program, like, it makes sense. Now, I'm not trying to hijack the video, but it is very interesting because
I mean, Mike
Bill
Vrabel's part of the Patriot way too. So
I know
makes
that's why
sense.
we're doing this, and I'm thinking about it. It's like Mike Vrabel doesn't want to open up the stadium. You saw the clip where during the springtime with his family, and a recruit who's from Georgia wants to open Ohio Stadium, and he was annoyed that he had to go there because the kid wasn't going to Ohio State. Like I don't know that Mike Vrabel probably has the temperament as a human being to host and recruit in the old sense of the way that we anticipate you have to recruit. But now with salary caps, quote unquote salary caps, or revenue sharing that's limited, and people going to colleges for different reasons besides the family atmosphere, which you'll read quite a bit, like the Mike Vrabel situation over there and the Bill Belichick scenario over here are actually quite similar. So like I don't think this is going to happen, but like another person I used to work with on the Ohio State beat, Nathan Baird, he works for the Indy Star now, called me today to quote me on how good he's calling national people and asking how good do you think the Purdue job is. And we got into a very big discussion about Purdue and how much money they're going to allocate to their revenue sharing budget and how much control or autonomy the head coach is going to have. Like these are all interconnected, because like this is exactly what makes the North Carolina job attractive for somebody like Belichick, who has an NFL background, who has worked with personnel, who doesn't have an appetite to recruit. I could not imagine in a million years Bill Belichick going on a plane to watch a high school game and then doing an in-home visit.
Here's my question, Ari,
These are
because
the coaches that are on the table.
Everybody's going to be offering money. The market is you've already seen the market self-regulate in terms of prices. So let's play this out with Bill Belichick, but you can insert any NFL type coach here. They are accustomed to dealing with the budget part of it. But I was the one who said, oh, you don't need that assistant coach who's like the hotshot recruiter anymore. But the more I think about it, when everybody has rev share money, you kind of do, because you have to differentiate yourself, because everybody's going to offer let's say a top 200 level wide receiver somewhere, a guy ranked between 150 and 200 in the country who's a wide receiver. Like that person is going to get offered pretty much the same amount of money by every school that's recruiting him. So how do you differentiate? Well, you still have to recruit.
Or you go find a coach with a long track record of winning when the playing field is even.
Here's my Super Bowl rings. Consider yourself recruited.
Also, who doesn't want to be coached by the person who coached Tom Brady? Like, and I actually find that I coached in the NFL is kind of like here's what I do when I hear that. Like, it's like, I understand that it's an important thing and that people are moved by it, but there is nobody on earth who has the I coached in the NFL sales pitch on lock more.
Yeah, I can develop you for the NFL because I got all these Super Bowl rings. Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. It's interesting that you brought up Vrabel. I'm glad you did, because I think Mike Vrabel has a better chance of getting another NFL head coaching job, because he's going to get one, than Bill Belichick, who might not. And maybe this is something he's actually thinking about, because he might not get an NFL coaching job.
Well, what happened to him? Like, I don't follow the NFL close enough to know, but like, why is he an unhirable person right now?
It's not unhirable. It's that he still probably does command a significant salary, and probably would like similar personnel control to what he had at New England, where I think some of the NFL front offices and some of the NFL ownership groups probably look at that and go, I don't know how well you handled that in the end of New England. I still think he would run circles around college coaches trying to do it.
I just don't. It's just like, to me, it's like if Nick Saban's like, guys, I don't work at Alabama anymore. I'm on every single program. I would fire Kirby Smart to hire the guy. Maybe. I don't know if I'd go that far, but like,
I don't think they'd fire Kirby. But pretty much everyone but Georgia would do it.
But like, I'm saying, like, why you would think that this person who won, what was it, 6 Super Bowl? I don't know is it 5 or 6?
6.
It's one of those.
6.
What he wants a job. And meanwhile, you've got Matt Eberflus out here who doesn't know how to call a timeout with the game on the line. It's like, what are we doing? How is it so hard for this man to get a job? He's going to go coach North Carolina? He's one of the greatest coaches that's ever set foot on the face of the earth. and ran a dynasty in the most competitive and parity-filled league ever. North Carolina? What?
Give him that Jordan Brand hoodie in that blue.
I could go 45 more minutes on this. This is insane.
How fun would it be? How fun would it be like Bill Belichick at ACC Media Days? Come on. Like, he's like, what are we doing here? I just have to talk to reporters for the entire day?
Could you guys...
What?
Could you imagine a scenario where it's like, we're writing National Signing Day columns about Bill Belichick flipping 3 guys from Clemson?
Hey, coach, how'd you flip John Smith? We offered him more money.
But the real question too is, and this is how I feel, like I get myself into trouble when I tell people what would be a job worth taking or not. But if you coached in the NFL this long and you were on Tom Brady's roast and you have all these rings and you coached Rob Gronkowski and Edelman and Mike Vrabel himself and all these accomplishments in the NFL, like, how could you possibly stoop so low? And maybe it's not low at all.
It's not low.
No, but I'm saying at this point in your life,
University.
No, not North Carolina.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
talking, no.
Okay.
To call a 17-year-old. Like, when you think about it in those,
please come play for me.
I'm not saying that North Carolina is. It's just like at a certain point, it's like, do you have the fire? It's like, if you won the Pulitzer Prize for best sports writing or whatever, you broke a story and did this thing, and you were just like, they made the movie Spotlight after you. Like, would you go cover preps? It doesn't mean that preps is a bad job. And it doesn't mean that the people who cover preps aren't talented or don't love it. There are a lot of people who do preps and don't want to.
Like, just for the purity, go out and cover a high school soccer game. Keep my own stats. Yeah.
That's what would you go stand on the sideline of a high school lacrosse game and keep your own stats on a notebook in the rain and then go file
I can do that now.
4-inch story for the local newspaper? Now, like, it's not that that's a bad job or that there aren't great people at it.
You know who would do that, Ari? Bill Belichick. He loves lacrosse.
It's just like, yeah. And it's like every single job, except this one I hear it on 3, has drawbacks. And it's like the drawback of coaching college football is having to interact with children this much. Because that's what they are. And a lot of them are children who are steered.
And also those children's parents and other folks who represent the interests of those children.
Yeah. Oftentimes who are also children, just grown up.
Right.
Like, I just don't know that I would have the temperament as a human with that much life accomplishment to start that up again. But you know what? Some people just love coaching ball.
If Bill Belichick is the new North Carolina head coach, it's going to be spectacular.
Why doesn't he just go coach Allen, Texas? They've got a pretty big stadium in high school.
Big stadium.
Why don't you coach the local Pop Warner team? Like, how low do you go? And like, listen, I know you could clip that and be like, oh, Ari thinks college football is not a good place to work. Like, that's not what I'm saying.
Man's won 6 Super Bowls, for goodness sakes.
The guy has won 6 Super Bowls. And like, if you ask Kirby Smart, would you like to win a Super Bowl? He probably would. Like, who doesn't want to ascend?
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh does. He won the national title last year. He's trying to win a Super Bowl now.
Would you want to be the #1 podcaster and like, would you want to be the host of Part of My Take?
I mean, I don't want to do anything to Big Cat or PFT, but if, let's say, our show got that big, yeah, I'd love that.
I'm just saying, like, we cover college football, but I wonder if we covered the NFL, like, if this would be different.
We'd be way more fun than most of the people talk about the NFL. I can guarantee that.
So. I think so. But yeah, anyway.
So Bill Belichick, come to college. We'll cover them both.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
If he wants to do it, that would be electric. But I also feel like your theory is correct, that they probably have an idea of who they want. And
probably somebody coaching Friday or Saturday. Probably.
Maybe.
Just a wild guess.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the person on the top of the hot board that I wrote when Mac Brown got fired. John Summerall, who coaches Tulane. Maybe. Just say. Maybe it's that. But if it's Bill Belichick, let's go.